Today on the Stay at Home Chef, I'm showing you how to make the most amazing vanilla cake. You guys have been asking for it, and here it is, the most amazing vanilla cake. It's delicious, it's moist, and it's sturdy enough to cover in fondant. It's really the only yellow or vanilla cake recipe you'll ever need. We're gonna start with 3 9-inch pans because you know that I always like to make a 3-layer cake because I find that it's the perfect ratio of cake to frosting. Take each pan and place it down onto a piece of parchment paper. Then take a pen and trace around the bottom of it so you get a circle. We're going to be using this to line the bottom of our pan with parchment paper so that once our cake is baked, it'll come out clean. Next, take a pair of scissors and carefully cut just inside of the line that you traced. You want to account for the width of the pan itself, so if you cut just inside the line, you'll get it so that it fits perfectly. Repeat this process until you end up with 3 round pieces of parchment paper. Then, spray the sides and bottom with a little bit of nonstick cooking spray. Take one of your pieces of parchment paper and simply gently place it onto the bottom and give it a good rub to seal it on there. And of course, you'll repeat that process with the other 2 pans. Set those aside and we're gonna move on to making our batter. It starts with ½ a cup of salted butter. Place that into a mixing bowl, and you need that to be softened to room temperature, along with ½ a cup of vegetable oil and 1½ cups of sugar. When making a white or vanilla cake, it helps if all of the ingredients are at room temperature, and you'll get a better result that way. Next, we're going to take a hand mixer and beat this together until it's nice and creamy. About 90 seconds of mixing should do for that. Next, we're going to start adding in our liquid ingredients, starting with 1½ cups of buttermilk. Now, you do need to use buttermilk in this recipe because the acid in it will react with our baking powder that we're going to add in later and help the cake to rise. If you don't have buttermilk or you need a buttermilk substitute, be sure to check out the written recipe where I'll give a link to my page on my website where I talk about buttermilk substitute options. Pour that in. We'll add in 3 large eggs and a whole tablespoon of vanilla extract. And then mix this in. Once the egg yolks are broken up, that's enough mixing for that. Then we're going to add in our dry ingredients, starting with 3½ cups of all-purpose flour. You can also use cake flour for a lighter, more airy feel to your cake. But of course, all-purpose flour is much more convenient. We'll also add in 4 teaspoons of baking powder and ½ a teaspoon of salt. And give this a final mix to combine. You don't want to overmix this, just mix it until the flour has incorporated into the batter. Then you'll also want to take a rubber spatula and scrape the sides and bottom of the bowl to make sure all of the flour got in and there's nothing sticking to the bowl. Then divide the batter into the 3 prepared pans. And I just eyeball it and do the best I can for an even divide. And then you just spread them out in the bottom just a little bit. Bake these in a 350-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. Or until a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. You definitely don't want to overbake these, so keep an eye on them because the fastest way to dry out a cake is overbaking. Once they're out of the oven, let them cool in the pan for about 5 minutes and then remove them and place them onto a wire rack to cool completely. Make sure your cakes are completely cooled before frosting with your favorite frosting. Thanks for watching. You can find the full written recipe in the video description. Be sure to subscribe and check out the rest of my channel where you can find hundreds of restaurant quality recipes you can easily make at home. See ya later.